predictions for the future here, just to let you know. This video did not go the way I expected it to. So it's still going up and it's still worth watching. But let me tell you that sometimes when you're using new technologies, that does mean that things won't work exactly how you expect them to. That's why I posted this video, and I hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to today's video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at ChatGPT Web Browser. This is a new service very similar to the ChatGPT plugins. If you haven't got access to it yet and you're a ChatGPT Plus subscriber, great news, you probably do have access to it, you just don't know how to use it yet. Follow this video. In a few minutes I'm going to show you how you can get access to that service. Now, I've got access to some of the services. I've got plugins and I've got web browser, but I haven't got code interpreter. And OpenAI, if you are watching, help a guy out. I want to be able to use that service. It's something that would be really useful for me. Now, you guys, you might have access to it, and if you do, drop a comment down below and let me know what you think of that new service. So before we get started, I want to thank all of the subscribers so far that have subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate it. If you like AI, if you want to learn more, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video, it helps with the algorithm, and drop a comment down below as well. And also, if you are looking to get jobs in AI, using ChatGPT, using these services, there's jobs out there, you just need to know where to find them. So sign up to my Substack, it is in the description. You get the latest jobs in AI straight to your inbox every single week. So let's take a look at ChatGPT Web Browsing. If you take a look here, you can see the OpenAI page about the browsing model. That talks about WebGPT, which is an early version of this that they didn't ever release to the public, but it was an idea they had to connect it to the internet and see what happened. They released a paper on it, and it led to where we are today. Now, the whole point is to be able to update the data. At the minute, you're kind of stuck by the training data cutoff, and also because there's so much information in there, sometimes contradictory information, you do get situations where the AI pulls information out of its training data and then it just completely gets it wrong. And that is where giving it access to the internet to allow it to read factual information and then give information out that is more accurate based on what it's reading. Now, that's a very, very inaccurate way of talking about it. If you want to know how ChatGPT works, you can watch it here or here, wherever it is. But it does give it a way of being able to make sure the information is right and kind of fact check itself. Now, what this now does is it gives you access to it over here where ChatGPT 4 is. So if you look at GPT 4, you now get a drop down which gives you browsing, plugins, and if you've got it, a code interpreter. Now, I didn't have browsing a few minutes ago. What I had to do was activate it. The way you activate it is to go over here to the three dots in the bottom corner, click settings, and right there you will have an option of beta features. Now, the beta features will give you access to anything new that OpenAI is making available to ChatGPT Plus subscribers. If you don't have Plus, you won't have access to this. If you click on it, you can then click it on or off, whichever way you want to go. And then what it will do is it will switch it on and give you access to it when you are on GPT-4. Now, the problem you've got here is you only have the cap at the minute of 25 messages every 3 hours, which does limit your usage of it. Over time, that does need, that is going to be hopefully extended. It started at 100, dropped down, and hopefully it will go back up again. So if we switch the plugins back on as well, because I don't want to lose access to that, then what we do is we go down and click on browsing. Now, I have never used this before. This is the first time I'm going to use it, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to try and do, but I think a good thing to do is to see if it can do some research for me for a blog post, and we'll take it from there. So what we'll do is we'll give it a subject. Now I believe it's using Bing, which makes it very, very similar to Bing's AI, Bing Chat, but it is different. If you take a look here, it's not just searching what you ask it directly, it's clicking on links, it's telling you what it's doing, and it must be reading the information on the page. Again, now scrolling down, so what this is doing here is it's actually going through the website. Now, I wish it was using Google. I'm sorry, Bing, I do love what you do out there, but the stuff on the first page of Google is usually far, far more useful than Bing is. It's just got a better algorithm. If you sort your algorithm, then hopefully it'll get better. But right now, I think that will limit it a little bit in terms of how good it will be. So right here, one thing I've noticed is that it is taking quite a bit of time. And if you combine that with GPT-4's slow rate of providing the information back to you, this could be a problem. If you take a look here, it's scrolling, it's reading, it's scrolling, it's reading. It's getting lots of information, and that to me is going to be really useful. If we take a look here, so it has actually failed in reading the content. So it's in beta, it's going to make mistakes. So at this minute in time, it is going to be interesting to see how useful it is. I've got a lot of feedback from people who've used it to say it's really good. This here does show that it does have some limitations. If it is going to be reading from a website, in some cases, I don't know what it's using for that. I don't know if it's using maybe jQuery. Possibly the information on the page isn't something that can be easily read. But we might have straight away picked up on a reason why it's currently in beta and why it might be quite limited at the moment. So once it does now, it goes back down, clicks the link, and it's going to start reading again. So what this means in terms of being able to use it is that it's going to cut down your time. If you think about it, when you are going to a web page and you're reading it, I have a habit of scanning. And when I scan, I will possibly miss some really important things. So I have to force myself to sit and read every single thing. When I was doing my economics degree, it used to drive me crazy. You have to understand the first sentence, to understand the second sentence, and you've got to critically analyse both of them. That's hard to do when you're just doing research for a blog. Now, once they've ironed out some of these problems, I think that reading content failed it's an issue. There's no hiding away from that. If it is going to struggle to read things, it's going to make it very, very difficult. And it possibly means the further you get down that page, possibly the worse the content's going to be. I don't know about you, it's not always the case, but quite often when you get down the page, you're more likely to get things that are just a bit of a waste of time. And that's going to cause problems. Once they iron out these problems, it is going to get better. It's going to become more and more useful for what I think is what this can do, which is cut down your research time. So what it's done here, it's finished browsing. Now here's a thing here. So yeah, Brian Robson was manager of Middlesbrough at the beginning of the 21st century. It's gone back a little bit earlier. Things like Nigel Pearson, Niall Cox, people like that, they weren't in the 21st century, but it has got information there. And then what it's doing is it's then going through factual information. Now, if you go back to some of my early videos and you look at the information that was given even about the 1990s, some of that information, which would have been in their training data, was completely wrong. And what they're doing here is they are giving information, I say in there, it is giving information that is absolutely spot on. It isn't given that false information about was saying sometimes that Middlesbrough won the FA Cup in 1997, which they didn't. Chelsea fans will absolutely attest to that. But if you take a look on here, what it's doing is it's giving really factual information. It has missed out some really, really important things. So it has missed out them getting to the final of the UEFA Cup. And that's disappointing because that was one of the biggest things, probably the biggest thing that happened in Middlesbrough's history in the 21st century. And it's got to 2005, 2006. And then it has got it wrong. So what I'd say here is it's very clearly a reason why it's in beta. That's something that I would say, and I've always said about when you use AI content, you've got to fact check it. As good as AI is, the way that it works doesn't lend itself very well to fact checking. Remember, it's looking at numbers, it's not looking at words. It's understanding connections, it's not understanding facts. So when you look at this here, 2005, 2006, they did battle against relegation, but they avoided it quite comfortably. They ended, I think, in 14th, and they got to the final of the UEFA Cup, which was the main thing that people would look at as Borough fans from that season, because two of the best games in the club's history, they got to the final UEFA Cup after beating Basel by being 3-0 down and beat Bucharest being 3-0 down and coming back and winning both games, and they lost in the final. And then Steve McLaren went to become manager of England, and we all know how that worked out. So if we take a look at that information there, it's completely wrong. 2-3 seasons later, they did get relegated, and that was after a few years of being comfortably mid-table. And that is probably where it's mixing that information up, because it's looking at connections between words. Something on the screen will say 2005, 2006, this happened, 2009, 2008, 2009, they got relegated. Now, I still think for research, it's not quite there. And I would personally, strange enough, think that Bing Chat is probably better for this. And actually, Google Bard is pretty good for it. I do need to do an update on that service, because Google Bard is very good in terms of doing the research for you. Probably because of how good Google's algorithm is in general. But if we take a look here, let's see if it is going to have the same problem that we found when it was trying to read it, and it's struggling to read the content. And that is quite possibly where we're going to find these problems. If it isn't able to read the information, it's going to do what it's done before. It's going to just basically start writing out the information using, well, not really any information at all. It's just going to be using what's in its training data, which is the reason why we are trying to add web browsing to it, why OpenAI want to be able to get that into this service. Hey, Richard for the Future here. I wasn't sure whether to share this one or not, but in the end I thought it was right to share it. And the reason being that it's a new technology and sometimes things will just go wrong. And that's what happened here. OpenAI's web browsing service is looking good, but it's just not there yet. And that's the reason why it's in a beta test. That's the reason why we're getting to use it now to test it out, to find out these things. So as it gets better, we'll keep testing it, we'll keep trying it out. I'll come back in a couple of weeks and we'll try it again. But right now, if you need to be able to get things from the internet, I think that Bing Chat is the way to go. It's more reliable, it works better. So thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And drop a comment down below if you've used this service and tell me everything that you think about it. Because I think it's great, but it just needs to start working better. Thank you for watching.